Thanks for stopping by at the eCave today. It's December 24, or more appropriately is DOSCember, i.e. where nerds like me like to do something with DOS. So that's exactly what I'm planning to do. So if you're interested in that, why not join me in the eCave? Thanks for stepping into the eCave and staying with me today. As you know, it's DOSCember, and I'm interested in putting a DOS version onto the XTIDE Compact flash cards on the IBM PS2 Model 30286. I've been running IBM PC DOS version 6.2.2, but that is not the latest version. As you probably know, IBM Microsoft co-developed DOS from 1981 onwards, releasing their own version, which was practically identical. Microsoft calling theirs MS-DOS and IBM calling theirs PC DOS. Now, it was in 91 when they released the last code-developed version, i.e. DOS version 5. They had a big tiff and split up and decided to develop their own version separately from there on. So in 93, they released version 6. IBM released version 6.0 of their MS-DOS, but IBM released PC DOS version 6.1. Now, IBM then continued to develop DOS, and the last version of DOS IBM actually developed came out in 1995, and it was called PC DOS version 7. As it happens, I've got that version here. Now, they did release some bug fixes for the year 2000, and it was sometimes called PC DOS 2000, or it's actually DOS 7.0 with bug fixes, and they called it DOS 7.1. So not a lot has changed. It's basically the same as DOS 7.0, apart from the bug fixes. Now, as it happens, I do have a version of DOS 7. It comes with one diskette and a CD-ROM where the actual DOS 7 files are on. Now, if you go the diskette way, there are about 7 diskettes, and IBM used 3.5-inch 1.44 megabyte diskettes. But what they also did was use some compression format called XDF, which means it's not easy recreating those diskettes. You basically have to have a proper DOS machine with a proper diskette drive in order to get that done. It's very hard to do it otherwise. But I was thinking, given that I've got a CD here, I could do it the easy way, i.e. install PC DOS on the compact flash card from the boot diskette, and then use my Windows 11 PC to copy the DOS folder from the diskette here onto the compact flash card, and then basically go into that directory over there and install it from there. But it doesn't work, sadly. I tried myriad variations thinking it had to do with folder names or something like that, but it doesn't work. I even tried it in my PC 300GL, which is an IBM IBM machine, which is a later machine, and exactly the same thing I'll show you what happens when you try to run the setup off the actual drive where you want to install the DOS7. All right, we're back in PC-DOS, and if I do a directory, we'll see a new directory called PC-DOS7. So let's go into that. I'm sure there are some files in here. And run setup. See what happens. It just hangs. No, it works. I thought it was going to hang on me. Enter to continue. I don't know, we're not in the US. Can I change that? Yep. And we can continue. We don't need antivirus, Rex, Stacker, absolutely not. Central point backup. Probably doesn't matter. PCMCI, no. All right, let's go with that. And see what happens. Following disk error was detected. What's now wrong? Given the fact that the easy way, as I thought it would be, didn't work, I thought, I've recently got 2 of these cards. These are from Monotech. It's an XTIDE Deluxe card. And it's for compact flash cards as hard drives, but also has an IDE interface. And I thought, well, I've got a few old IDE CD-ROMs and cables, and I can power them. So why not put this in and then plug the CD-ROM in there? That means I can put the CD-ROM into the CD drive and install it. But sadly, there's a Santa Claus here at the back with the diff setting, and it actually says here, ATAPI devices such as CD-ROM drives are not supported by XTIDE Universal BIOS as of 2024. So this didn't work, sadly. I then scratched my head and thought, well, I do have some IDE controller cards, ISA-based IDE controller cards. Now, I'll show you a photo of 3 I have. And I tried 2 of them, hoping I could plug in a CD-ROM drive or a hard drive. But that doesn't work, sadly. Neither a hard drive or a CD-ROM drive would work on those on these IDE controller cards. For the simple reason is that the BIOS in this machine for hard drives expects an ESDI hard drive. It doesn't support IDE or ATAPI, which is the interface for the CD-ROMs. You have to have a IDE controller card that has its own BIOS on board, and none of those 3 cards does. Therefore, I was stuffed with that. Didn't work. However, I do have, as I said, a PC300GL machine. It has an ISA and PCI bus slots, and I could actually take the compact flash card, the XTIDE compact flash card, into the PC300 machine, which coincidentally also has a CD-ROM drive, and I could do the installation there. Now, the instructions that are here basically say You boot the PC from the diskette here, which is PC DOS7. You then format your hard drive and copy the DOS files using sys across. And then what you have to do is add the CD-ROM drivers based on your CD-ROM. Now, I've been running Windows 98 on that PC300 machine, and one of the things you can do in Windows 98 is create a startup diskette, which copies basically a large number of device drivers for various CD-ROMs, because when you boot that diskette or the startup diskette, it loads them all just in case in order to make sure it has access to the CD-ROM drive. So I could use that diskette to get sys files and modify the config sys and auto-exec bat to get the CD-ROM drive working on PC DOS7, booted off the Compact Flash card in that machine. And then, of course, the CD goes in and I could install PC DOS7 onto the Compact Flash card. But I'm a bit stubborn. I really wanted to do this on this machine, not on another machine. So I went through my ISA card stash and I actually found a SCSI card, a 16-bit ISA SCSI card. This is an Adaptec AHA 1542CF card. It actually has a SCSI interface, and both external and internal, but also has a floppy interface. So I decided to put that into the Model 30 286, but there are some challenges with that. But I did get it working, and I also did have an external CD-ROM, SCSI CD-ROM drive. So with a combination of this and the external SCSI CD-ROM drive, I did get it working. So today I'll take you through that process and show you how you can do that. Now, these cards are available. I've seen them on eBay. There are different versions. The key will be the CD-ROM drive, getting access to an external SCSI CD-ROM drive. But even with this, you can actually put in the hard drive as well. That works. Now, the first thing to do, of course, is to put a card into the XTIDE adapter. This is a SanDisk 128. And follow the instructions by IBM. And I'll take you through that. Then I'll take you through how to configure this card appropriately. And then we have to install the easy SCSI drivers for that. And once that's all up, we can install PC DOS7 from the CD. So I'll put this into the IDE Compact Flash card, and let's begin. I've got the PC DOS system setup instructions, and they basically tell me to boot from the setup diskette, which comes in here. It's the only diskette, the rest is on a CD-ROM. And then take it from there. Now, I am capturing the output, and this time I've gotten rid of the 2401 VGA error using a video splitter. You can get these on eBay. They're fairly cheap. I think I paid 20 Australian dollars or something like that. And you can get them with 2 outputs or 4 outputs. It's actually an amplifier. That means it doesn't terminate the VGA output with 2 parallel VGAs. It terminates it as a single VGA and then amplifies it and sends it out to the monitor and the capture card. But if we put this in and start up the machine, now one of the things I learned is not to have the diskette inside or loaded when I start it up. Reason for that is if I do that, it will boot from the diskette, which is fine, but it doesn't pick up the compact flash card hard drive. You have to leave it out and then wait until you get the XTIDE prompt. I'll put in the card here. And then press A, and then you put the diskette in. This is a bit different from the normal PCs. They would happily boot straight from the diskette after having displayed the XTIDE. I've noticed on the PC 300, that's something I didn't have to do. But anyway, let's start. I'll skip through a lot of these screens. There's no reason to let you suffer. So I'll do a bit of time warping. But notice when I get the XTIDE prompt, I put the diskette in at the same time pressing A, so I'm booting from the diskette. Well, it's booted version 7.0 PC-DOS. The first thing we have to do is fdisk. The compact flash card in there is in an unknown state. It has a primary DOS partition without a label. Now let's get rid of that, because I have no idea what is in there. And then we create. And we have to boot. Wait for the XTIDE BIOS prompt. Press A, put in the diskette. Next we have to format the C drive and copy the system files. And you do that with the /S. I'm just calling the volume label SanDisk 3 because I got a few of these SanDisk cards. Next, it says copy config.temp to the C drive. You can just say, and say sys. And copy auto exec temp to C drive. Same name, .bat. So it's basically putting a couple of config sys and autoexec bat files on the drive. They're not doing much, they're just adding file handles and buffers, and the autoexec file is just clearing the screen. Nothing much happening there. Now, I've done this a few times, and sometimes when I boot the PC, and it's supposed to boot from the hard drive, it finds the hard drive and then just hangs. So let's see if that happens. So we shouldn't need this anymore. So I'll do a Control-Alt-Delete. I'll tell you what to do if that happens. But let's find out if it works now. All right, it does hang. It just says booting C and nothing happens. All right, how do we fix that? Well, we'll put the diskette in again. Don't load it. We'll have to boot from the diskette. All right, we booted into PC-DOS from the diskette and we do fdisk/mbr. I notice sometimes when you do the fdisk and format and sys and all of that, it works fine. Sometimes it does this, and doing that tends to fix it. Not sure why, but for whatever reason, the master boot record gets somehow corrupt. But we're back in business. All right, we booted into PC-DOS 7.0 and we're ready for the next step, which is to put in the adapter SCSI card, which is this one here. Now, I'll tell you how I've configured it, because there's a configuration block here you have to put in place in order to make sure it actually works. Now, the three things that are important I've found. The first one is the I/O port address, which here is defaulted to 330 hex, and that's fine. I didn't have to change that. The next one is the BIOS address. That can have a conflict with your PC, depending on the PC. In this machine, I had to put all the switches off, which means the BIOS address is DC000 hex. With that settings, IO port 330 and DC000, then it will work. But there's one more thing that has to be done. I found that if you boot the machine with DOS 6 and use checkit, one of the IOQs which this card defaults to is being used by VGA. So this machine is using IOQ 9 for VGA, but this card defaults to IOQ 9 as well, and that doesn't go well. So you have to change the IOQ setting on this card. Now, this switch block only controls the BIOS and the port address and the diskette functionality. Obviously, you can't have the diskette controller on this card active while you have a diskette controller there. So that has to be enabled, and there's a switch here to disable the diskette controller. That's a must. So basically on this switch, IO port 330, diskette controller disabled, and BIOS address DC000. And one more thing, we have to change the IRQ from 9, and I changed it to 11. And the only way to do that is to put this card in and go into the BIOS, which is running off these EPROMs, and change it there. It's an internal configuration only. So let's turn this off. Put this card in. Okay, card in, and now I have to get my external SCSI CD-ROM drive. Pretty old one. All right, I've got the CD-ROM drive here and the SCSI cable is hooked in. So, and this is a very old style CD-ROM drive with a container for the CD itself. But anyway, let's power this on and I'll show you how to change the IRQ. You basically power on the machine. And when the BIOS for the adapter card kicks in, you have to press Control A to enter the BIOS settings. Control A takes us into the BIOS settings. Now the port adapter address is 330, I'll leave it at that. But you have to go into configure your host adapter settings to change the IRQ. Mine was set to 11. Sorry, mine was set to 9, which conflicted with the VGA, and I changed it to 11. That's the only change I've made, so I won't do anything more in here. I'll just exit and it will reboot. All right, we booted into the PC DOSCember, but there's one more thing missing. We need all the software to be able to access the CD-ROM drive. It doesn't see it because you need the adapter SCSI drivers for that. Let me get that first. The adapter SCSI drivers come on 3 diskettes. This is a version 312. Given the fact that I've got 3 or 4 of these SCSI cards, I also have the original driver diskettes. But it says here on the first one, to set up from DOS, type A and type install. So let's do that. And I'll show you what it tells us. A, install. And it's basically telling us you don't need the first diskette, you only need the second diskette. You have to put the second diskette in and run DOSinst. So let's do that. Now, I'll skip through all of this. It takes a while actually to put all the drivers in. So I'll fast forward everything. So we'll call it a D drive. Make all the modifications for the config Cs. Make all the modifications for the AutoExec BAT. And now we have to restart again. Yeah, I think it worked this time. I've got the CD in there. Let's do a directory on the D drive. Yes. So if we go to the D drive, all right. We are now ready to install PC DOSCember properly. onto the compact flash card. So I'll run you through that. I'll probably go fast through all the screens because it takes a while. You have to log into the drive, sorry, into the folder, PC DOS7, and run setup. And it loads up some decompression software for the XDF formatted files. Okay, I don't have a mouse, so we'll ignore that. I want to change the country to Australia. And then continue. Now I don't need a backup. I'll put in regs and the PC DOS shell. And the path is fine. And we're not backing up any previous files, so. And now the first reboot with PC DOS 7. Will it work? I hope so. And we're in business with a DOS shell. Excellent. Well, mission accomplished. So now I have PC DOS 7 properly installed on the compact flash card. Now I could put in a SCSI hard drive and then I'll have a hard drive as well, plus the external CD-ROM drive. When it comes to these machines, the options you have for a hard drive are pretty limited given the fact that the controller is an SDI controller for hard drives, and they don't grow on trees, sadly, and are mostly dead. The best option is something like XTIDE card with compact flash, or a hard drive, or both, depending on your situation. SCSI is another one, but SCSI is a deprecated standard, so you're still dealing with some older cards, and the external SCSI CD-ROM drives might be hard to obtain. But those are the options you have. The conclusion of all of this is that I'm happy with the compact flash card having PC DOS. I'm not going to use this SCSI card in this machine. I'll take out all the reference to SCSI in the configs and auto accept back, because I'm happy just to have the Compact flash card in that machine. And I've got a few more of those SanDisk 128 meg cards, and I'll just duplicate them. I can do a clone of the card in a Windows 11 machine. And that's the beauty of these Compact flash cards. You can always put them into a Windows 11 machine and copy files across to it, games or whatever you want, and then put it back into the old DOS machine, and Bob's your uncle. It will work fine. Well, that's what I've been doing. But it's Christmas, so time to say goodbye. I wish you and your family a very happy Christmas. Now we're in the southern hemisphere, so the temperature here is supposedly going up to what, 37 today, I think. And I don't have air cons in the eCave, so I'm sweating it out a bit. But as I said, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thanks for stopping by at the eCave today.